The detective said that no one will believe me.
I did tell somebody, and nothing happened.
I think the most common reason that survivors don't immediately report is this internal feeling of shame.
Since the MeToo movement went viral in October of 2017, we've seen a lot of powerful men and a couple of women fall. Much of it was contained to the entertainment industry, and the number of political scandals were small by comparison. That is, until the Brett Kavanaugh confirmation. And it seemed, for a moment, the nation stopped to actually talk about why people don't report sexual assault.
I believe her because she's telling the truth.
I told the story of my sexual assault. I told it because I recognized in Dr. Ford's story that she's telling the truth.
The debate over sexual misconduct in politics is nothing new.
I deny each and every single allegation against me today.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
The instant messages reportedly between Congressman Foley and a former page said in 2003 were vile and repulsive.
I have not been guilty of sexual misconduct with anyone.
In the beginning, there was a surge of allegations against politicians as a result of the MeToo movement. Since then, over 24 federal officials, staffers, or candidates were tied to sexual abuse or misconduct scandals. But the attention around the Kavanaugh hearing pushed lawmakers to finally create some new legislation on Capitol Hill. President Trump took to Twitter to criticize Dr. Blasey Ford for not reporting the assault when the alleged incident occurred 36 years ago, and he was unapologetic about it.
How did you get home? I don't remember. How'd you get there? I don't remember. Where is the place? I don't remember. How many years ago was it? I don't know.
As a prosecutor who has spent her entire career trying to tell survivors that they can come forward, be respected, be heard, be met with dignity, to see that happening, I felt, brought us back decades, maybe even a century.
But even when survivors try to report, it's not always brought to the police.
It was an event in my life that has stayed with me forever and has shaped me in some ways, because I learned really, really young that people may not believe me.
There's also a long history of how we prosecute rape cases and how we view rape claims. You could not bring a rape case unless there was corroboration for every single element of the rape crime. There's this famed mid-century jurist named Morris Plaskow, and he said the reason why we need this corroboration requirement is, quote unquote, ladies lie. And I think that's kind of the underlying sort of political background here, is this idea that people don't lie about things, but women lie about being raped.
The next thing I remember was the detective and I talking on the balcony of my old neighbor's house when she said to me, Vivian, you know, I hate to say this to you, but we found a lot of drugs in your system, and nobody's gonna believe you if you go to court. He's saying he didn't do it.
Prosecuting sex crimes is a whole different world from prosecuting other crimes. This is different than a mugging or a robbery case, because when you're mugged, you don't feel any guilt like, oh, should I bring the case against my mugger or not? What will happen to his family? You just bring the charges. But in sex crime cases, there are so many more emotions, so many more social issues involved.
A study about the barriers of reporting sexual assault found that the top 3 reasons preventing survivors from reporting were shame, guilt or embarrassment, concerns about confidentiality, and fear of not being believed. After Kavanaugh was confirmed, the number of calls to the National Sexual Assault Hotline increased by over 200%. Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle seized on this moment to reform laws that protect members of Congress accused of sexual harassment or abuse. After close to a year, both the House and the Senate finally passed legislation to reform the Congressional Accountability Act of 1995.
That sound you're hearing is the swamp draining when it comes to harassment in Washington, D.C.
The law would require members of Congress to personally pay for settlements to victims, and it eliminates a 30-day cooling period, which prevents victims from reporting any abuse or harassment when it occurred.
Getting rid of a lot of the abyss and the Byzantine way these cases were being handled. This is going to be better for victims, and I'm proud that the Senate has come together on a bipartisan basis to get this bill done.
The bill will will now head to President Trump's desk.
America has a rape culture. It's not going away. And when people excuse it, and that's what happened to me, it was something that I wasn't supposed to talk about.
I don't think people understand the depth of that feeling for people who have been assaulted. So it's not just the difficulty of reporting, it's even when you do report, what happens afterwards.